In today's podcast, Jeanette Spinelli, a top real estate agent out of Austin, Texas, sits down with me and we talk about her 25-year plus real estate career and how she has transitioned her business into something super exciting, super challenging, and it's something that real estate professionals that have been in the business for a number of years struggle with, which is, what's my next move? How do I go from selling hundreds of houses in my career into the next stage of my life where I can not put the pedal to the metal and work so hard, but yet still reap the benefits of all the work over the years or even decades of real estate service to clients? Well, Janette has built a business around that, and she shares her experience and what she has done and what she is doing to help other real estate professionals just like me, just like you. If you're in the real estate business, you're really going to like this podcast. Take a listen. Jeanette, what's up?
How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. What wonderful things have happened.
Yeah, so what great things have been happening?
Yeah.
I just met some awesome clients at the office. You know, like when you've been out of production for a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And myself also. And it's nice though when you're walking the office and you run into clients and they say, "Oh, I see you online all the time. I'm so happy to meet you." And they're with clients or with agents of ours, and they're about to go tour, and you get a chance to talk to them. And it reminds me of years ago when I was out on the lines in production and touring clients. So
Yeah. I also love when you, run into someone and like I've partnered them with another agent on the team because I'm, not going to be there, and they're happy. I think in many ways at this stage, at least for me, some of the other agents are better. They may not have the history of, the 25 years of experience, but they have more energy, or they're more enthusiastic. They're willing to go preview 45 houses, I'm just not going to do. So it's so comforting when you run into someone and they say, "Oh my gosh, I love so-and-so. Thank you so much for taking care of us." Because that's how I always pitch it to them. I want to make sure that the continuity of your expectations, that continuity of that still stays high. And it's as if it's even a better younger version of me. The more energetic version.
And, our agents on our team, they're every day touring the properties. They're looking at the hot sheet. They know the ins and outs of what is happening on a weekly basis. And we have a very high level overview and big picture. And so when you can combine both of those, that's when I think the best service for our clients happens.
Definitely. I can't agree more.
So Jeanette, where are you these days?
Today I'm in Austin. Yep. We just got here a couple of days ago. So we'll be here for about 6 weeks to the third week of July. So maybe four weeks. We'll be here 4 weeks and then we'll be gone. We'll be in Europe for 4 weeks and then we'll be back here for 5 days and then we'll be to Nantucket for the rest of the year.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining me on the podcast. And I wanted you, after our initial call, I've been looking forward to this podcast recording because your story really resonated with me because it's something that is different from your typical real estate agent. And for our audience, take us back to the first time you got involved in real estate and why.
Oh gosh, that was so long ago. I was not a licensed realtor. We did real estate for ourselves personally and built a rental portfolio. And that really came about in the late 80s when at least in Texas, there was, the market was driven by oil and there was a crash. And a lot of the friends that lived around us, were all young parents at the time, were having problems. Some were losing their homes. And we were in a fortunate position where we had some borrowing power, and we were able to purchase some of the homes and let our friends become our tenants, and in some instances buy the houses back years later when they were back on their feet. And through all that, I was just working. I was a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom, so I just did that work for us personally. But it made me think in the back of my mind, maybe one day when I go to work, when I go back to work, I might want to do this. And eventually, I did. The road did lead me back to real estate as a profession, and I got licensed 25 years ago to start doing real estate as a, I wouldn't call it a profession for me at that time. It was more like a way to earn some extra income. I was, my daughter was 16. I was kind of spending a lot of time with her before she went to college. I was engaged. We were going to be getting married, and he unfortunately was killed in a car accident about 6 weeks before New Year's, when we were going to wed. And that threw me into kind of a desperate mode, because I had purchased a home. He was doing the sweat equity of redoing it. And then of course he's gone, and I really needed that income to keep things going. And I didn't have that. And so I had to make it happen. So I sat down and I used my calculator, and I said, well, these houses that I'm selling at $99,000, which was my average price point 25 years ago, that's not going to cut it. It's going to take me 15 years to get out of debt at that rate. So I just knew that I had to increase my price point. I think it was 700 or 800,000 was the calculation, which was like the top 1/4 of 1% of our market. And I knew that I had to make that happen. And so I set about learning how to appeal to that segment of the market. And fortunately, through a lot of luck and support from other wonderful agents that kind of took me under their wing when I was a baby agent, and just a lot of hard work, we were able to get out of that hole and be successful and prosperous. And I always say I owe a whole lot to the real estate industry, because I don't know what I would have done, what other business would I have been able to get into to get out of 6 figures of debt in 11 months than real estate. So I have a lot of gratitude towards this industry.
And you mentioned having the financial motivation to get yourself going, and having experienced buying real estate and renting as investment properties, but you had no experience as a real estate agent 25 years ago. And so who were you looking at to shadow as mentors, a coach? I mean, who are those people for you?
I'm sure coaches existed back then. I didn't know of any, and I wouldn't have been able to have afforded them. But who really helped to guide me were the other experienced agents at brokerages that I was at. And I try to always remember that. And it's part of the motivation for helping other people. I probably get 2 or 3 calls a week, often from people I don't know who've heard of me from other people. And I always, take time to visit with them, because I had so much help from the agents that are still here in my market. Some of them still working. They were probably younger than me than I am now, when I was first introduced to them, but they were such great mentors. They showed me examples of how to do things properly, do things the right way. And they were also kind of my motivation as the years went by, to look at them and say, gosh, I don't want to work at the same pace as they are. I'm looking at them at their 25th or 30th year in the business. And I'm, driving down the road on a Sunday and I still see them out there banging in open house signs into the hard earth of Austin, Texas. And I'm thinking, wow, they're 15 years longer into this industry and they're still doing the same activities. They're working the same relentless pace. They're still on the hamster wheel. I don't want to do that. I didn't really know what that meant or what the solution was. I just knew that I did not want to be doing the same thing for 30 years in some instances. And shockingly, some of the best mentors that I had 25 years ago are still, this Sunday, they will be knocking signs into the yard and going to open houses and still being on call 24/7 and still texting people under the table while you're supposed to be having dinner with your family and, running to the bathroom, but you really need to make a call, but you're pretending we've all done that, or working on while you're on vacation. They're still doing all that. And I feel bad for them. I wish there was, I wish that they had found another way, like some of us have, to be able to have a more harmonious life than that same relentless pace that they've been doing for 25, 30, 40 years.
Do you recognize that in your business about 10 years into selling, that you didn't want to have that be your story?
It was about 10 years into sell. I think at the year 10, you're pretty tired already. You've seen a good market, maybe you've seen a shifted market, but you're pretty exhausted. And I started thinking about it then. I didn't have a solution. I just knew that I wanted it to be different. And it was really, I'd say about 7 years ago that I started, the vision of what that needed to look like for me started to firm up. And again, fortunate to be surrounded by some brilliant people, caring people, who helped me with that vision. And some of those people helped me implement it. So I always, share with people, oftentimes I'll get calls like, should I change brokerages? And somebody has this tool, and I'm like, tools and systems, that's great. Everybody has tools and systems. To me, the ace in the hole are the people that you're surrounding yourself with, or the people that happen to be at that brokerage. That's for me who really elevated my ability to get where I needed to go, and helped give me the clarity of figuring out what I wanted.
Okay. So what does that mean for you? You're no longer in production, so you're not servicing buyers and sellers. You have elevated your real estate career into what it is right now. So for everyone watching or listening, what is a typical day for Janette?
Well, and just the caveat, I took my 16,000 person database down to 104 households.
Okay.
So if any of those 104 people call me, I can be at my vacation home in New England, and I will get on a plane for them, but not for anybody else.
Yep.
So for me, what that looked like was, again, I love this industry. I just didn't want to be showing property every day, like most agents do. And I felt like I had a higher and greater use of my intellectual property and my connections than just unlocking doors and turning on lights. And I probably shouldn't say just, because I don't mean to diminish that. It's a huge job. For me, it just wasn't challenging anymore. Mm-hmm. I wanted something where I could grow and be stimulated, but I still wanted to be in the real estate industry. And so I spent a lot of time, a couple of people really helped me with this clarity, as I mentioned, just trying to figure out what I wanted. And I realized I didn't want to be showing property every day. I do believe having your fingers in the pot a little bit helps keep you to be able to advise your agent. So I knew that I needed to create leverage and grow a business that I could take my clients, the not the 104, but the balance of them, and be able to partner with other agents on my team, so that I knew, number one, my clients were taken care of, even though it wasn't going to be me, and also be able to provide me residual income, so that the last house I sold was not the last dollar I made. And that is very much the story of a realtor. They work, they sell, they help other people build their financial foundation. They grow people's wealth through real estate. Like, we all have experience in doing that. But then very often we forget to grow our own wealth. And so I set out trying to understand, like, what were realtors doing? You know, how did they see the end of their career? There's so many classes on your career, a million classes on how to hold an open house, how to prospect, what mailers to do, how you should show up on social media. I mean, okay, fine. There's so many resources for that. But I think the industry as a whole, and brokerages specifically, fail to prepare the agent for what happens towards the end of their career and all of the options that might be available to them. So about 7 years ago, I started digging into different industries. Over the last 5 years, I've interviewed over 1,000 people in a variety of industries. A bulk of our realtors. Some of those were one-on-one. Some of those the largest group I did was 80 at one time, and they filled out forms and gave me feedback. And what I realized as we were going along is that realtors really didn't have a plan. The most common response was, I have a few rental properties and that's going to sustain me. Now, I don't know about you, but my life is, I want a much bigger life than a little bit of cash flow from rental properties might provide to me. So that wasn't enough. Another common answer was my spouse has a retirement plan, and that's fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. Sadly, many people responded, "Oh, I'll just die in an open house." And it was a joke to them, but really the bottom line is they didn't have a strategy for what they wanted to do when they wished to stop selling real estate in some way. So I just started digging into what are the different options for agents based on all of this data mining that I did, and realizing that there was just a handful. From all of my interviews, there were probably 40 people that actually had a plan. And those varied in different ways, but mostly they centered around taking the aspects of what they did every day as a job and built a business in some form or fashion. And then they strategized on how best to walk away from the business, at least the pace that they had always taken on, and how that might look. And there's a variety of different exit strategies for agents that I was able to uncover from the interviews, and also I was able to experience for myself when I chose to slow down the pace or step away from the daily grind. So that's kind of a long preamble to answer your question. What does my day generally look like? I still have meetings. I mean, I chose to want to stay in the business a little bit, just not selling. So I still have meetings in the morning, mainly Zoom. When I am in town, because I do live out of the state of Texas half the year. When I am here, I'll have meetings at my home. I office from home. And those really consist of other agents on my team, you know, coaching and mentoring, and a little bit of recruiting. Or what it has resulted in lately is consulting on exits. So I have a lot of calls from people wanting to know, how are you able to be away so much and you're still, you know, we're still hitting the top 25 agents in Austin, and our team is still ranking high when it comes to end of the year stats and all those things that might be important to some, you know, to some people. I care about profit, not so much, you know, ego. And I think that is one thing that you need to let go of if you are wishing to have, I call it work-life harmony, not work-life balance. I mean, balance implies 50-50, and that is a losing proposition before you start. So I talk about harmony. Some days it'll be 70, 30, some days 60, 40, but it all comes together just like a, a symphony where everything sounds beautiful and everything works because things have their proper place. The components are there. It's not 50-50, but it's equitable in a way that is fair to you and your life and your family, right? So for me, I just had to look back and say, what do I want? The clarity, first off. What are my options? What are the different patterns or avenues for exiting? And a lot of those options are based in, how well your business is doing, right? If you want to partner with someone or join an expansion team or, do a brokerage bridge or anything like that, you need to clean up your systems and tools and processes. You need to create profit for yourself. You need to increase your valuation. And so you're like almost like selling your business, and you've got to do everything that you can to raise your value. You might have to look at your strengths. You might have to look at your weaknesses. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into a variety of exits, but the first thing is you have to have clarity in what it is that you need and want. And you have to really examine the types of exits. All of them are right. There's no wrong one. It's what works for you.
So Janette, we've been talking a lot about the experienced, seasoned, veteran agent and exit plan, but a number of our agents and viewers, listeners are in the thick of it. They're maybe just getting started in their real estate career. What are some of the things that you are advising agents on your team that are not exiting in the next year or two, but are just getting started in the industry?
I'm so glad you asked that, because really it starts in the very beginning. And if I could have a perfect world, I would have those classes right alongside how to hold your first open house. Mm-hmm. Because I think it is important to kind of start off as the way you intend to carry on. And it may be hard for the agent that's year 2 or 3 in the business to think down the road, but we all know that you have to plan in advance for things to go well and go smoothly. And this is no different. So for the agent that's a couple years in, I don't know. I mean, the last couple of years have been brutal. They may be ready. Right? You don't necessarily have to be 25 years in the business in order to want to be done. You can be 4 or 5 years in the business and go, I can't take this anymore. So it's not the time on task as much as is yourself. And also, I think sometimes opportunities will present themselves to you, and you might want to choose those opportunities, and you can't because you haven't gotten your business up to a place where you could walk away. So if it's a brand new agent or less than 5-year agent, I would say, a couple of things. You really want to treat your job as a business. You want to make sure everything you're doing is always documented. So a temp could come in and execute if necessary. You have to start hiring some form of leverage. You cannot wear 15 different hats. Nobody is good at that. You got to figure out what you do well and pay other people to do the rest. When you get there, I mean, year 1 people aren't going to have that kind of, financial situation to be able to do that. But you have to begin to start building some leverage around you so that you can focus on what you do well, give people the things that they do well. And at the same time, as you're chronicalizing everything and systematizing things, you got to keep a real eagle eye on your P&L, the money that's coming in. You probably know this, from your conversations. Most agents do not run a P&L. They know what they bring in. You might ask them, what are your expenses? They might be able to tell you. Typically, they have it wrong. Typically, they're including what they pay themselves when it needs to be categorized differently. or they pay themselves differently than they pay their agents. Whatever split their agents are on, you should be on. So those type of more business-driven decisions in education, frankly, because most people don't know this. They have to be taught it. I know I had to be taught it. I mean, God, I wish I was year 3 and knew all this. It would have saved me a lot of time, and made me much more money. I'd be in a much better financial situation. But you have to get out of the reaction mode of everything that's happening to you every day and get in the strategy mode. Now, for those of us that were selling during COVID, there was no time to breathe, let alone strategize, right? Everything was right. You were going and going and going and going. And as much, I don't know, fun is the right word, but as financially rewarding, I will say, as that might have been, it really did a disservice, I think, to agents that were just coming in. So speaking of those agents that are like 5 years licensed and less, they never really learned, how to do things. I mean, somebody said to me, if you didn't make money during COVID, you're an expert at dodging raindrops in a thunderstorm, right? Everybody was like, and so now, they didn't learn how to hunt, they didn't learn the skills. And I see them now trying to go, oh gosh, it's not so easy. And that they're trying to learn these skills. But I'm telling you, at the same time, you need to carve out part of your week and protect that time into building a business. Because only then are you going to have the financial cushion to bring somebody in to help with the low-hanging fruit, things that can easily be delegated. And only by protecting that time are you going to invest the time in going to business, building kind of courses or education or reading or podcasts or, there's a sundry of things, not all in real estate. Your education shouldn't just be real estate seminars or real estate conferences. There should be a diversification of, you should know a little bit of accounting, you should know a little bit of HR, you should know a little bit. And I think for the agent that's year 3 and they're just kind of figuring out how to negotiate for the first time because COVID, it's just here, take everything. I just need the house. Now they're having to figure out, how do I prospect? How do I negotiate? If they're listening to this, they're probably thinking, oh my gosh, where am I going to fit that in? But it's like, pay me now or pay me later. At a certain point in your career, you're going to have to get this down, or you are going to have a job and not a business. And you're never going to get out of the relentless hamster wheel of cranking out production, where you're only as good as your last deal. And January 1, you start your year at 0. And that stinks. 15, 16, 20 year, 23 year. And how do you ever walk away from that?
Yeah, no, I agree. You've been sharing a lot of wisdom in your 25 years in the industry. What does the future look like for you in your real estate career?
Well, I'm excited. And I think this is the other great thing is it's exciting to learn something new. It's exciting to have a new challenge. That's how we grow. I want to be uncomfortable. Yeah. I don't want to be like, just doing the same old thing. And so I'm really thrilled to be a resource and a mentor to younger agents. As I started off saying, I owe a lot to this industry. I mean, it really, I don't want to get emotional, but it does make me a little emotional. It really did save our lives. And I owe a lot to this business. And I do feel the obligation and the desire to give back. And so aside from the mentoring and coaching that I do within my own group, I'm thrilled to have had the opportunity the last 5 years to work on just a passion project of mine. And it's kind of in its final stages, but I've taken all this collective wisdom. It's not just me, it's a myriad of people who've poured into me and helped me with these interviews. And I've put it all together. I did a ton of research, and we've just finished writing an instructional book and an on-demand course. that will be able to help people help guide people in what they might need to do to find this clarity in what they want their next stage of their lives to be, to evaluate their options. I mean, some people might just say, I'm done, I'm walking away, I'm closing the door. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people might want to merge with someone that's already working for them. Some people might want to hire someone from outside of their town, their industry, their main focus of people, their niche of people. There's brokerage bridges that a lot of brokerages are starting to offer. Some people transfer or sell within their family. There's so many options, but you have to clean things up and know how to streamline your operations, know how to find more revenue streams, know how to build up that P&L. And all of those aspects and those tasks are covered in the book, in the online course. And from that course, we'll have some coaching and consultation that can be added on if someone chooses after they finish the course and or the book.
Is there a website that you can share that we can go to?
Yeah, I'm going to give you, we're not finished with the website. It will be realestateexitblueprint.com, but it's not up and running yet. I'd say we're 30 days out from that. And we're about 30 days out from also the book. It's in final edit. But I do have a URL that I'm going to give to you that if you go to, it's just exitplaybook.com. I think it's .com. Let me look it up real quick. But if you go to that, you'll just be able to put in your name, your email, your phone, your contact information. And when everything is up and running, we will push out the information to you so that people know everything's live and they can sign up.
Janette, thank you so much for your time, all of your stories, your wisdom, and I applaud you for being able to transition out of the hard life that all of our real estate agent friends experience and to challenge yourself day in and day out and really get excited about new adventures and writing a book, starting a new business, and giving back to the real estate industry that has provided so much for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you. You are a leader in this industry, and we all appreciate you so much. So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate that.
All right, Janette, take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronaval Real Estate and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronaval. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronaval.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.